The river roared that morning like it hadn't in months, muddy and swollen from last night's storm, its current wild and untamed. The sky hung low over the Appalachian foothills of rural Virginia, thick with fog and the scent of wet pine. 23-year-old Eli Bennett had no idea that the next few seconds would alter the course of his life. He wasn't anyone special, just a quiet, rugged young man who worked odd jobs, repaired his grandfather's truck on weekends, and tried to keep the roof over his mama's head from falling in. But fate doesn't knock. It crashes in, wild like the river, loud like destiny. And on this morning, as he trudged down to the water's edge to fish for his breakfast, Eli saw something he could never unsee, a body in the rapids, flailing, vanishing beneath the surface, then rising again. It was a girl, blonde, her arms weakly splashing, drowning. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections to change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel, Stories Collection, for more powerful human stories like this one. Eli didn't stop to think. He dropped his rod, tore off his flannel shirt, and dove into the freezing water without hesitation. The river felt like knives. Each stroke was a battle against the ruthless current. The girl disappeared again beneath the churning surface, and a scream, his own, echoed in his ears. He reached her just as her head went under once more. Her body was limp. Eli wrapped an arm around her and fought like hell to pull her to shore, dragging her across slick stones and mud. His lungs burned. His arms trembled. But when he laid her out and tilted her head back, when he pushed down on her chest and begged her not to die, he didn't see a stranger. He saw a life he wasn't willing to let go. Minutes passed like eternity until she gasped, coughed, and life rushed back into her like a crashing wave. Her name, he would learn later, was Lila Monroe. Eli didn't know who she was, not yet. All he knew was that she was freezing, confused, and terrified. She had come to Virginia from California on some impulsive road trip to disconnect from life. Her car had broken down up the road. She had wandered off to feel something real, and the river almost swallowed her whole. But Eli, a nobody with a busted pickup and holes in his boots, had pulled her out like it was the only thing that mattered. He wrapped her in his jacket, carried her 2 miles on foot to the nearest farm, and sat with her until help came. She never stopped staring at him, not because of his calloused hands or muddy jeans, but because he looked at her like she was just a human being, not someone with a last name that could buy cities. What Eli didn't know, couldn't have imagined, was that Lila was the only daughter of Robert Monroe, one of the richest real estate tycoons in California. Heiress to a billion-dollar empire, the girl he saved had grown up with every luxury, but none of the peace Eli carried in his eyes. Lila had run from the glitz and noise of her privileged life, trying to find something, anything, that felt real. And in the arms of a stranger who risked his life for hers without knowing her name, she found it. Lila didn't just leave after the rescue. She stayed. Not in some fancy hotel, but in Eli's modest home with peeling paint and a sagging porch. She met his mama, helped him feed the chickens, rode in his rattling truck. And for the first time in her life, Lila felt seen, not as a millionaire's daughter, but as someone who could be useful, kind, human. Eli had no idea who she was until a black SUV rolled up outside his home days later, and a man in a tailored suit stepped out with eyes wide with panic. Lila's father. Cameras followed. News vans came. And Eli stood on the porch, confused, heart pounding, as the world learned who the girl he saved really was. But what stunned him wasn't the money or the headlines. It was the way Lila clung to his hand, refusing to leave unless he came with her. He didn't want anything. Not money. Not fame. He just wanted his quiet life back. But Lila insisted. She brought him to California, not to parade him, but to thank him. To show him a world he had never seen. She gave him what no one else ever had, opportunity. Eli was offered a full scholarship to a mechanical engineering school, his dream. His mama's roof was fixed. His town finally got the funding it needed for a new community center. But more than the material blessings, it was the friendship that bloomed into something slow, genuine, and breathtakingly beautiful. Lila and Eli, two souls from opposite worlds, finding a bond that money couldn't buy and status couldn't fake. She grounded him in dreams, and he grounded her in truth. Their story made headlines for weeks. Virginia hero saves heiress, from riverbank to riches, the girl who was drowning and the boy who brought her back. But none of the articles captured the quiet moments, the laughter on the porch, the shared coffee at sunrise, the tears when Lila finally admitted how empty she'd felt before she met him. Eli changed because someone believed in him. Lila changed because someone saw her beyond her wealth. In time, they built a life together, not defined by money, but by meaning. He graduated, opened a garage in his hometown that offered free repairs for single moms and veterans. She started a foundation that provided clean water and emergency help to rural communities. Together, they turned one moment of desperation into a lifetime of purpose. And it all began with one selfless act, a young man who didn't look the other way, who jumped in when it counted. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Stories Collection for more powerful, true-feeling stories that show how one act of kindness can change a life forever. Speech balloon special request. Before you go, comment below. What would you do if you saw someone drowning? Would you jump in like Eli did? Your story might inspire someone else to be brave when it matters most. Absolutely. Let's continue the story, deepening the emotional arc and building toward an even more powerful, cinematic conclusion. We'll expand with richer scenes, internal struggles, and a moving resolution, ensuring the full length supports a 6,000-word YouTube story video. Lila had offered to fly him back to California in a private jet, but Eli had politely refused. He didn't belong in a world of velvet ropes and champagne lounges. That's what he told himself, gripping the worn steering wheel of his old Chevy as he returned home after their emotional goodbye. But that night, as the rain tapped softly on the tin roof of his mother's house and the memory of Lila's eyes filled his thoughts, he realized something deeper had shifted inside him. Her presence had lit something that had long been buried, a desire to rise, to become more than what the world expected of a poor boy from nowhere. For weeks, Lila stayed in touch. Every evening, they'd talk on the phone. She told him how she couldn't go back to the same shallow parties and people. He told her about rebuilding a neighbor's porch, about teaching his little cousins how to fix engines. What started as gratitude slowly turned into friendship, then into the tender ache of something more. But not everyone around Eli welcomed this sudden attention. Small-town folks can be wary of change. Some of the men he once worked with sneered behind his back. Pretty boys getting soft, talking to that California princess, they'd whisper. Others accused him of chasing money, of being manipulated. Eli bore it quietly. What mattered wasn't their words, it was the truth in Lila's voice when she said she believed in him. Then came the letter. A thick envelope in expensive stationery bearing the Monroe Foundation seal. It wasn't money. It was an offer, a full scholarship to study engineering at Stanford. Tuition, housing, books, all covered. The girl he had saved had gone to her father and fought, not for handouts but for his future. Eli stared at the paper for hours, heart pounding. This wasn't just school. This was a bridge to a different life. A life where he didn't have to scrape under cars forever. A life where he could build something lasting. His mama cried when he told her. Not because she wanted him to leave, but because she finally saw the light in her son's eyes that had faded since his father passed. He accepted. California was another planet. At Stanford, Eli felt like a ghost walking among giants. Everyone had private tutors, trust funds, connections. He had dirt under his nails and a southern drawl that made some professors pause. But he worked harder than anyone. He studied late. He asked questions. He refused to quit. And through it all, Lila was there, picking him up from classes in her old beat-up Jeep, not the limos her father sent. She brought him sandwiches during finals and told him over and over, "You belong here." One night, after a brutal exam, Eli broke down. Not from failure, but from the crushing weight of trying to fit in. He confessed to her that he felt like an imposter, that the world he'd been thrust into was too big, too bright, too fake. And Lila, in that moment, sat beside him on a campus bench, took his calloused hand in hers, and said, "You didn't save me for nothing, Eli. You saved me because you're strong. But now, let me save you back. Let me fight for you." Those words stayed with him like a prayer. 2 years passed. Eli didn't just survive, he thrived. He graduated at the top of his class. His final project, designing affordable solar-powered water filtration systems for rural towns, gained national attention. His name was suddenly not just known in the corners of his Virginia town, but in boardrooms and innovation labs. The media caught up again. Hero turned inventor changing lives with clean water systems. But Eli didn't chase the cameras. He used the attention to open a nonprofit, Clear Streams. The first community it served. His hometown in Virginia, where folks now had clean water, jobs, and hope. As for Lila, she had stepped away from her father's empire. She didn't want to inherit boardrooms or glass towers. She wanted to build something real. Together, they merged their visions, her connections, his engineering, to serve communities forgotten by wealth and overlooked by power. Their love story was never about fairy tales. It was built in mud, tested by fire, and rooted in selflessness. On the 3rd anniversary of the day Eli pulled her from the river, they stood beneath a tree near that same riverbank. No tuxedo, no ball gown, just family and friends, and the mountains watching silently as they exchanged vows. Eli said, "I never thought a girl like you could love a man like me." Lila smiled through tears and said, "You didn't save me from drowning. You showed me how to live." Their wedding wasn't lavish, but it was sacred. People from both coasts came, farmers and CEOs, students and builders, all united by the ripple of one brave act. One stranger jumping into a river changed not just a life, but many. Years later, people would ask them, what was the secret? How did two souls from opposite worlds make it work? And they would always say the same thing. Kindness. The kind that asks for nothing in return. The kind that acts when no one's looking. The kind that sees beyond class, race, status, or scars. That's the kind of love that saves. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Stories Collection for more unforgettable tales of love, redemption, and hope. Speech balloon special request. Before this video ends, comment below. Have you ever helped someone not knowing your life was about to change? Or has someone unexpectedly saved you? Your story might be the spark someone else needs today.